That's cool.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
wow,
Oh
it
my
is.
god. Oh my god. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no.
Go!
Oh my god. This is
Oh,
oh.
that is so funny.
Yo, this is sick as fuck.
Oh wait, we're B. I gotta run.
I went the wrong way, don't worry.
That's one
Oh,
guy
I
in
can't
one
see.
tower.
Holy
That's
shit!
so fucking cool.
He turns me
shit.
into a projectile.
Holy shit, that was sick.
That is ridiculous. Hello, Baker here, and today I want to make this kind of a mini analysis of the patch 7.1 that just came out last week. First of all, this patch was a huge W for any fan of FF10 because we finally, officially, got our first FF10 tune in FF14 with the addition of the Pelo Beast Tribe, so that was awesome to see. Now, this game has had some great FF10 references and others not so great. I'm mainly looking at you, Anima, being a dungeon boss. Yeah, she deserved a lot better. Or a he in this game, I guess. Whatever. And you know, for a while now, I have been dreaming about this idea of a scene-themed 8-man raid in FF14, which I think would be a great addition, and of course that would come with it a slew of great FF10 tunes, which, you know, I would love to see, as I'm sure many of you guys as well, because I assume most people watching here are fans of FF10, and if you are not, if you haven't played the game yet, then why haven't you played it yet? And I must say, in general, Dawntrail has been a breath of fresh air after the Endwalker post-MSQ patches, because those mainly focused on the F4 references. They went kind of ham on those, whereas in Dawntrail they kind of returned to more the usual business, where they kind of do a bit of everything, right? We had FF5 references, we had 6, 9, 11, 10, even 10-2, I mean, heck, even 13, technically, like there were quite a few enemies from 13, if you want to count that as an illusion of sorts. And of course, you know, the FF11 inspired raid and such. So it's been a nice mix of everything, I'd want to say. So overall, a massive W there. Just wanted to get that out of the way first, and just as a heads up, I will probably be blasting some FF10 tunes in the background here, so that explains that as well. Okay, so let's move on to talking about the MSQ. Now, the 0.1 MSQ patches usually have a pretty specific theme, or like there's been this pattern that I'm sure many of you guys have noticed, where the first patch tends to focus a lot more on like world building and the politics of a certain city, rather than necessarily advancing the plots. So this may be, for example, Ishgard in 3.1, Alamigo in 4.1, Ilmo in 5.1, Razathan in 6.1. So going into 7.1, I feel it was a pretty safe bet to assume that we were going to be focusing on the kind of politics and the aftermath of Sphinx defeat and how that impacts Alexandria. And we would be examining that, which is, well, precisely what we got. And I do think they hit the right notes here. First of all, they do explore the theme of death, basically how people who have not been used to people dying and having to grieve them because they essentially forget about them, how they deal with it now. And I felt that was very interesting to see play out on screen. I felt that was done pretty well. The second thing they focused on was kind of the darker aspects of Alexandria and their society. You know, in the dungeon we kind of see the price they had to pay to advance that technology. And it's kind of been there in the background this whole time. It definitely draws some parallels to Alagans. You know, we know that these kinds of advancements don't necessarily come free. You know, there always has to be some kind of messed up background to these things. So that was also great to see. So the world building I thought was done pretty well. I don't have much more to add to that. Of course, 7.1 also focuses on some character development. You know, we have bits with Gulja, and his mother. We have Zoroja, we get some bit more about him. I won't focus on those too much here, but I do want to talk about Kanana specifically, because Kanana, in my opinion, was an extremely underutilized character in 7.0, and I'm sure many of you agree with that sentiment. I mean, seriously. So it was nice to see him playing a bit of a bigger role in this patch, and the whole thing with his nomadic origins, that was definitely another one of those safe bets, right? Because they mentioned that in the 7.0 MSQ, but they kind of don't do anything with it. So it was kind of safe to assume they would go over that at some point in the post MSQ patches. So what are my thoughts on that segment? I felt it was neat overall. However, and I'm curious if any of you guys feel the same way, it definitely felt a little too fast-paced for my liking, I'm not gonna lie. It definitely, you know, when he jumped in front of the buffalo and he was like, I will protect the head, so, and he like took the hit. To me, that was kind of a bit of a, it wasn't like, oh, just awesome or anything like that. My reaction was more like, like, it definitely felt like they kind of just had to get this done with really fast, which was unfortunate. I really wanted to see a bit more with him. But overall, it was a good little segment, and the fight itself was fun. He has that really badass line. I forgot the exact line, but it's something like, oh, the vow of resolve isn't the only one resolved here, or something like that. I really like that line. And the way he pulls out that sniper and just destroys the predator, that was pretty cool. If I had to add one thing on top of the fact that I was maybe a bit too fast-paced, I kinda wished we could have gotten to play as Kanana in that solo instance, kinda similar to how we got to play as Wukalamat in the 7.0 MSQ. I don't even think it would have been that hard to set up. You know, you could have literally just had them split up, and the warrior of light is over there doing their own thing, then Kanana runs into the predator, so it becomes kind of like if you guys remember the fight against Elidibus/Xenos in 4.5, where you're like you're waiting for the warrior of light to show up as you're fighting. It could have been something like that. Mainly for two reasons. One, it endears us to Kanana more to actually fight as him. And secondly, you know, it's just one of those things where we kind of get used to it, and it doesn't bother me too much. But I just find it funny that the warrior of light somehow cannot penetrate this dude's armor. You know, like, it's just some random punk-ass predator. But oh no, you know, this god killer can't pierce these little crystals. It's a bit funny. It kind of reminded me of the 7.0 MSQ, you know, the one with Otis, where we struggle to fight some random wolf. Like this wolf is drinking the electrope like Kool-Aid, and oh no, we can't kill the wolf now, we need some help. So, again, it's not a big deal. This is like a very, very minor nitpick here. So despite those little nitpicks, I would say overall though, I like the whole thing with Kanana here. Obviously the idea was to have him, well, it kinda thematically makes sense that he embraces this nomadic tribe, you know, with him being the guy about technology. He embraces these people who live very primitively, but he also overcomes his childhood trauma, makes him a better leader in the process, right? That was the whole idea, get us to understand why he's fit for this job as a successor to his father. So I think it does the job. However, I will say it's not enough for Kanana. I think there has to be more planned for this dude. Definitely. Like, if the developers made this thing and now they're like, okay, that's enough for Kanana. Now we're gonna brush him to the side and we won't really see him that much anymore. That's gonna be a big fat L if they do that, right? Because it's not enough, in my opinion. I think this dude has way more potential than that to kind of just leave it as this little 5-minute mini arc here. You know, we need to see something a bit more substantial. And this leads me to theories about the future, because for those of you who watched my trial video, in it I speculate that the preservation will be the antagonists we'll have to deal with in the post-MSQ patches. Because I do find it a bit strange that they drop all these hints about how much of a threat the preservation are and the things they were doing. So I do think that's what's happening there at the end of 7.1. I do think the evil sphere there, or whatever you want to call it, it has something to do with the preservation, and they are up to no good, basically. So with that in mind, I do think there's 2 characters who play a key role in that storyline. First of all is Cryo, because of the personal ties with her parents, as well as her coming from that world. She has a very personal stake in it. And then we have Kanana, who has he doesn't have necessarily a personal stake in that kind of a conflict, but it's more of an ideological one, right? Because Kanana is all about using technology for the betterment of his people, whereas the preservation is the complete opposite of that, right? They wanna twist science to their evil ends, basically. So having that conflict play out would be amazing. And I do think it is such a missed opportunity that Kanana still hasn't interacted with Alexandria / Solution 9 in any way so far, which is just wow. Like, this dude is all about technology, right? And he hasn't even entered the high-tech city. So yeah, I do want to see this conflict between Kanana and the preservation play out in the future. And yeah, we just need to see more of Kanana outside of Truang, because I do think it's kind of a waste to just have him chill there when we have this whole high-tech city and the interesting flavor we can do with that. So that was it for the MSQ. Now, some other small things to mention. First of all, they actually re-recorded the 7.0 final boss voice lines to better reflect it being a battle scenario rather than, well, whatever it was meant to be before. And I'm not here looking for like who is to blame, like, oh, is it the voice actors or is it the voice direction or whatever, right? I don't care. The W there for me is the fact that they were actually able to admit their mistake and fix it. So that was great. And the experience is definitely a lot better for it, I would say. In addition, they made that final boss item level locked, which is another huge W. I mean, for God's sakes, it's so bad in those earlier fights. You know, like Shinryu, Hades, Ensinger, whatever. You miss so much like dialogue and amazingness when you just nuke the boss. So I actually made a video about this like 2 years ago, I think, where I talk about the item level issue. And I'm glad to see they finally address it, at least in a small way, right? So that's great. Basically, this final boss will be a lot more future-proof. I hope in addition they go back and retroactively add this to some of the previous final bosses, because yeah, it is sad. It is sad, like when you did those fights on release and then you see what they're like now, it is very disappointing, I must say. It's all about making that first time experience better for people, right? So at least it's a good first step here, I would say. There was the 24-man. I don't have too much to say because there isn't a lot to discuss yet. But it was fun. I definitely enjoyed it more than the last two. I just hope it won't be like Aglaya, where the first one is great and the next two are a little disappointing. But yeah, for me it was an interesting experience because I have not played FF11. So it's a rare scenario where I actually don't get the references, well, most of them I got some like very surface level stuff. So it's a nice change of pace for me personally. There's some stuff about Bakul Jaja in the 24-man, but I think I will do a video entirely dedicated to him at some point, so I won't talk too much about it here. We also got a Pandemonium epilogue kind of a thing, which was a bit surprising, but a welcome one, I would say. I wish we could have maybe gotten to spend a bit longer in there, but it was still fun to return to Pandemonium and see a bit of Eric again. It was a good one, and for me this is actually a good timing because I was planning on releasing at least 2 videos on Pandemonium very soon actually here, so please look forward to that. And this kind of gives me an excuse, you know, like, oh, they just gave us some Pandemonium content, so I'm gonna release it, even though I didn't plan it, but it works out quite nicely for me. So okay, so those are my thoughts on 7.1. As I said, this would be a bit of a shorter analysis than my usual stuff. I kind of just wanted to get my thoughts out there, really. If you want to be alerted when I drop those Pandemonium videos, subscribing my channel is the easiest way to do so. Thanks for watching, have a nice day.